Hi everyone, I'm just going to do a quick drawing tutorial this morning. I've had a request on how to draw faces, so if any of you guys have any requests, let me know and I'll do a short video so you can see how it's done. Alright, hope to see you soon and stay watching. Alright, so first of all, I've done like a little thumbnail sketch here of the proportions of the human face. Now, just remember this is just a generalization because every face is different. You've got people with rounder faces, narrower faces, wide apart eyes, and so on and so forth. But golden rule of thumb is to just draw a oval shape, okay? Faces are generally oval. The eyes actually rest halfway down the head. Most people don't really understand that because they think that halfway line is from your fringe down or where your hairline starts, but it's not. It's actually from the base of the skull here. So after you have drawn your oval shape, you're then going to just find your line of symmetry and divide the face or the oval shape into quarters like what I've done there. Your eyes are actually one eye space wide, so it's a good idea just to throw in your little third eye there. Just as a bit of a guideline. Now you'll notice that I've got two circles either side, so we want to make those eyes as even as possible. So what I do is I start off by just drawing two really light circles first of all, and that guides us with our eye shape. So the corner of the eye is like so, comes down into a point, rounds off, and then we're using those two circles to guide the almond shape that the eye actually is. Okay, and so there you've got a nice even eye shape. So from there, if you take your rubber, just rub out the two circles so you're not adding to the confusion of the shape. And the other important thing to remember when you're doing faces is that the iris itself is not a perfectly round circle. Unless you're startled, you don't actually see the full circle. So you want to see a flat edge of the eye at the top, flat circle, and round it down to the bottom of the eye. Okay, now make note of your white eye space here. You've got a rim that comes into the eye there, and you don't have a whole lot of space on that side either, so you can do some slight general shading. The pupil right in the middle, but just sort of map it out and just lightly shade it like so. Now from there, you're going to just draw in the eyelid, okay? Just nice even space around there and just gently shade in around there. Remember that is a crease of the eye, so it does need to be shaded ever so slightly. Just keep your lines really soft and etchy. Now from there, from that crease, you come up from there and start on level with your eyebrow. Now this is important as the next stage because you actually measure from the eyebrow to the chin and that gauges your nose. So you're going to gently just curve around. Just pay attention to what space you're creating here. And it usually is, you've got a thicker brow there and then it curves slightly around the eye like so. Okay, so back to the iris now. You can go around those lines a little bit heavier. We need to be mindful of where the highlight is in the eye as well. So we've got a little bit there, and I might just create a little bit more there as well. So you can start shading in the eye. And remember, this is just a sketch. Got all those little lines, and your shadow area is going to come in under this lid. This lid here is quite heavy. Especially a lady's lid if it's built up with mascara or heavier eyelashes or whatever. Okay, so those highlight parts are really, really important. Okay, just shade the pupil in a little bit darker. You see how that's coming together. Okay, now just be mindful, we don't want to see the bottom of the eye built up too much. So you want to just do a nice gentle rim, a little bit of shading in the corner there, a little fleshy part of the eye there, and with your lashes you want them to just be very, not overdone, put it that way. It's very easy to have them exactly the same length, curving exactly the same way, and we all know that that doesn't happen in a natural eye. So you just want to start flicking out and vary the length, okay? So some will cross over. It should just extend a little bit past the eyelid and have a few crossing over. Okay, so nice and natural there. Now the same with the bottom lashes. You don't want them built up too much either, so just in the opposite direction, what they do is they curve out this way, they tend to straighten up in the middle, and then they curve in the opposite direction on the other side. So again, vary the length and have a few crossing over. And voila, we have an eye. Okay, so the next part of how to draw a portrait is, now that the eyes are both evenly in place and the eyebrows are actually placed in, we measure from the eyebrow line to the chin, and that halfway mark is where the bottom of the nose rests. The nose is actually one eye space apart as well. Okay, so from the corner of each eye, you're just going to draw in two very, very light vertical lines. Okay, we've still got our line of symmetry down the middle there. So from there, what we're going to do is we're going to put in the tip of the nose. Okay, so just remember that resembles a flat upside down C. Okay, the nostril holes then, so that curves around. Again, try and make it as symmetrical as possible, and you can just do a little bit of light shading there just for now. Okay, now from there, what you're going to do is you're going to bring your line in underneath the nostril, bring it out to that vertical line and curve it in slightly. Okay, so under, out to the line and curve it in. So from here you can start doing a little bit of light shading. Everyone's got like that little bit of roundedness or a little bit of a knobble on the end of the nose. So you're just going to start now doing some light shading. So we'll start with the nostrils. And a little bit of light shading there just on the roundedness, the tip coming in. You can use a little finger too, just if you want to sort of start applying a little bit of shading in and around the eye. All of these lines obviously we'll have to rub out later, but what we want to do is sort of encourage that narrowness there that comes in from the nose. You certainly don't want to be drawing lines, okay? We don't want it to look too animated. So a little bit of light shading there on the tip, a little bit of light shading underneath the nostrils. And voila, we have our nose. Okay, we can always add a little bit more shading and tonal work afterwards, but for the moment we just want to make sure that it's placed in nicely. Okay, so that's the next stage. Okay, so the next stage is the lips. Now, the most important thing when you're drawing lips is to make sure that the distance between the nose and the divot of the lip is in the right spot. Now, the next golden rule of thumb, obviously, is to measure from the tip of the nose to the chin, and we mark out a halfway point. And that really should be about the center of your mouth. Now, to gauge the width of the mouth, you come in from the inside of the iris, and you draw a vertical line from there on both sides. So that will be the width of the mouth there. So what I generally tend to do next is do the divot. So we want that space, and you know, look at the person next to you or across from you, or look through magazines and just really make note of these distances, and it will really seem apparent to you when you do it, okay? So from there we are going to just do that little V-shaped divot from the lip. Okay, and I'm just going to measure out about halfway where the middle of the mouth is. Now we want to do a nice gentle curve there. I want it to look as natural as possible. The bottom lip generally is a little bit wider as well. So if we focus on that halfway line, which I've just moved a little bit higher than what it was before, going out to the side there,
And what we want to do is scoop a little flat C shape again, just underneath that divot. Okay, that's representing the top lip. And then we're just going to follow that line, curving it up, down and out to the side. Up, down and out. And that's the gentle, natural shape or the curve of the middle of the mouth. So what we want to do now is just join on those divots from the top lip, and again trying to make it as even as we can on both sides. So that's the top of the lip, okay? And the crease is always built up. That little crease on the corner of the mouth is always built up a little bit there. So we can start doing our little bit of nice natural shading. Now, the bottom of the lip, we just want to flatten that. So remember, we want that bottom lip to be a little bit wider. We're going to flatten that area out there, and then we're just going to gently curve it to that outer crease. And my shading's a little bit off there, but that's okay. I just do recommend to just keep it as etchy as possible. Okay, the highlight of the mouth is usually around here, so I'm just going to build up a little bit of natural shading, built up a little bit down the bottom there, and the corners. Okay, a little bit of chin work there. So you can see that the proportions there, the mouth, the nose, the eyes, they're all in proportion. So what we need to do now is establish, okay, how much chin do we want? Okay, so again, we're just going to flatten, we're going to rearrange the shape of the face slightly. Okay, so remember the initial oval shape is just a guideline. Now, we obviously need to place in ears, so we need to establish the outside of the head there, so try and make sure that those areas from the eyes to the side of the head are quite even. And what you want to do is you want to measure from the eyebrow to the base of the nose, or the tip of the nose, and that then is going to be the length of your ear. So same on that side there. I'm going to place those in. Now the hairline, that comes in. Obviously we don't start throwing in some hair right here, because that will make your person look quite bald at the front. So your hairline will come in, so whatever hairstyle you like there, and we'll cut in front of the ear like so. Okay, so now we need to reshape the mouth. The shape of the head looks just a little bit narrow, so I'm going to plump that out a little bit more. Pay attention to the width here from the side of the mouth to the side of the head, the eye to the side of the head, and try and keep that even on both sides. So we've got a nice even shape there. Neck usually comes in line with the mouth. So you can put that in like so. And basically that is your grid line. So when you do hair, or you want to expand on hair, remember that the hair will be heightened on top of the head and will come in from behind the ears. So that the hairline might cut in slightly there and cut in slightly there. And then if you've got long hair, obviously it'll fall in behind, but just make sure you poof that out a little bit, because the last thing you want to do is then have a really flat head of hair from behind your portrait. Okay, so I hope that's helped. I do have notes on this as well for my students that do attend, and there's lots of tutorials and things like that, but sometimes it just really helps if you just watch somebody do it first. So it's a bit mathematical, and it is, you know, you do have to be very precise when it comes to your symmetry especially. You don't want a wonky face, but it just takes lots of practice. Another tip which I find really useful too, that if you are copying from a photograph or something in a magazine that you just can't quite get right, and you just don't know what it is that's not quite right with the portrait, turn your portrait upside down and your reference, and then have a look at it from this angle. I can already see that, you know, my face isn't quite symmetrical on that shape there, but you look at it from a different perspective, and you can really then identify what it is that isn't quite correct. So that's just a useful tip. Rubbing out obviously all your lines, and then, you know, either shade it, use spot colour, or just keep practicing. So have fun.